In May of 2008, we had talked about some of the things you mentioned, helping him incorporate. You mentioned acting as his maid. You mentioned helping him in his prepaid legal business. When you lived in Wairika, did you help him with any of his philanthropic adventures?
Can you be more specific?
Aaron, if I may approach again?
Yes.
For the record, I'm going to show Ms. Arias what has been marked exhibit number 406. Please review this entire document to yourself and let us know when you're done.
Yes, I remember this email.
Okay. What was this subject matter of that email or your discussion?
There were several subjects. Part of it was I was expressing just the discontent that I had in the past about our relationship having never been public, and the expressing my discontent about the constant shadow that Deanna always casted, probably unknowingly, over our relationship at that time, and how we had to hide it from her. And he started a website, I started a website with my photography at that time, and he told me that he would post a link to my website on his page, on his website, and I said, I'll do the same for you. And then when it came down to it, he kept stalling and saying, oh, I have to talk to Sean, I have to talk to Sean. That was the guy who was helping with his web hosting. And so I kind of got the sense that he didn't want to do it because he was getting pressure from his friends about our friendship. And just different things, a bunch of things. I just felt like I want to just take the pressure off him. Like, if it's that hard to be friends, let's just cool it a little bit. Like, I still wanted to be his friend, but I didn't want him to feel like that our friendship had to be a burden.
Okay. And when did you send that email?
May 16th, 2008, a little after midnight.
A little after what?
32 minutes after midnight.
Okay. And you sent that to Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
You say to Travis, I realize after further introspection why it is that I asked you to give me a little mention in your next post as credit for the task of editing and grammar and typing the lengthy thing out. What's that a reference to?
Travis was was writing a book on personal development and being a better person.
And from what this sentence would say, then it sounds like you were editing that book, or could you describe that for us?
His friend Katie Barnes had edited and typed the introduction, and he asked if I would edit and type the first chapter.
And you say Katie Barnes, this is the Katie that's referenced here?
Yes.
Okay. And it sounds like, looking at it, you said, it's much longer, it would make me feel good to have a little recognition thrown my way. Were you hurt by the fact that she got recognition that you didn't?
I wouldn't say hurt, I was a little bugged. I mean, the intro was very short, and he wrote special thanks to Katie Barnes, and I thought, well, that's nice of him. And then I joked actually about it. I didn't think he would, because I don't know. But I said, make sure you put special thanks to Jodi Arias, just as a joke. And he said, I can't do that.
And what was your understanding of why he couldn't do that?
His friends, the Hugheses, gave him a hard time, and he said that they made his life hell whenever he would talk about our friendship.
Okay. So at this point in time, at least at some level then, it wasn't just the sex that was a secret, but it was your friendship altogether.
Yeah, our very association had to be a secret now, from then.
Okay. You say, and I'm looking down here with this sentence that begins with but my, you see that?
Yes.
Where I pointed to? But my cry for a little recognition comes from a place within me that feels it was never adequately gratified and that it thirsted to be validated. Not just as some girlfriend, but as your girlfriend. What did you mean by that?
Well, almost the entire time I'd known him, the extent of our association was a secret. So I just tolerated it, and I tried not to let it bother me by not thinking about it. And so when he said, I can't do that, and now we're not even boyfriend-girlfriend anymore, and he still can't do that, or claims he can't, I realized how much it kind of bugged me. I didn't realize it until I was walking to work one day and thinking about the phone call we had just had. And so when I got back from work, I composed that email.
Okay. Was there ever consideration, this is May 16th, 2008, was there ever consideration to the fact that, we're having phone sex, we're talking, I'm doing this work for him, he still doesn't want to recognize me as his friend. Is there ever a thought in your mind saying, okay, I'm done with this guy, I don't want to be friends with this guy anymore, I don't want to associate with him anymore?
No, I never thought anything extreme like that.
Why would that have been extreme to you?
Well, Travis and I had been through a lot, so I couldn't foresee us I couldn't foresee myself completely exiling him from my life. I just wanted us both to be happy, and I wanted things to be cordial between us.
At the first paragraph of this next page, you say that you find yourself now wishing to be recognized as your friend, referring to Travis. But you talk about the recognition within his entire circle of friends. Sounds to me like it was more than just Chris and Scott Hughes.
Yeah, I guess it was. I didn't have anyone specific in mind, but I knew that there were, how do I put it? I guess I knew that, he was, I really don't know what I meant by that. I just wanted to be able to be open about our friendship in public and hey, we're friends, it's cool. Okay. Not just all this drama that we had been going through.
Okay. You talk about his mode of operation with Deanna. Before we go into what you say about it, what do you mean when you say his mode of operation with Deanna?
He had to constantly hide me from Deanna. Even after we broke up, there were times when I was dropping him off at his house after I moved to Mesa, and he said, Deanna's there, make sure she doesn't see your car, park it down the street and drop me off. And I thought, we're not even dating, and he said, it won't matter to her, she'll freak out. So, and then when we came back from Oklahoma City in 2008, he dropped me off at a quick stop in the middle of the night in North Phoenix, because he had to swing by Deanna's house to pick up his dog Napoleon because she was babysitting him. He didn't want me to go with him because he didn't want her to know that we had went on the trip together.
You talk about Travis didn't want to deal with Deanna's interrogations and emotions. You never saw any evidence of Deanna interrogating Travis about this. Is that accurate?
Interrogating Travis about what?
About you or about anything.
I actually saw one incident when we were on our first history trip, or I saw him venting to his grandmother over the phone about the incident.
Okay. But not her?
Nothing from her exactly, directly, no.
You say right here, this paragraph beginning with well. Well, I'm going to make it easier for you. And it looks like you're telling him that you want to kind of end your friendship. Is that accurate?
No, I didn't want to end our friendship. I just wanted to, I didn't want him to feel obligated to be my friend in order to spare my feelings. I wanted him to only be my friend if that was his desire to be, not because he felt he had to be.
You say that, in contrast, you weren't private or secretive about your friendship with him. Is that what you're telling us here?
Yeah, there's a typo, I think, in the second sentence, but yeah, I was not ashamed to call him my friend.
You said, you even go specifically at the bottom of the page, you say, you see, I have no shame in being your friend. Were you under the impression that Travis was ashamed of having you as a friend?
I got that impression from him about the Hugheses.
Okay. If anyone ever tried to guilt me or judge me, you would put them in their place. You were proud of Travis. You cared about him, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't let anyone say anything negative about him.
In fact, you didn't really like to say anything negative about him or to him, did you?
That's correct.
And this was in May 2008, right?
Yes.
You tell him that you care very much about your happiness and well-being. Still meant a lot to you at that time too, right?
Yeah, I cared about him.
So much so it sounds like that you were willing to sacrifice or at least back off of your friendship if it was better for him.
I wasn't sure specifically what that might have entailed, but I wanted him to know that he didn't have to, I didn't want him to feel the stress that he might have felt just by being my friend.
You also say, I love you, and I will always be here for you as your friend and confidant. May 16, 2008, you say you love him, right?
Yes,
Did you mean that?
of course.
Did you also mean the part where you say you'll always be here as his friend and confidant?
Yes.
After Mr. Alexander received this message, do you recall what the next form of contact was? Did you speak on the phone, text message, email? Do you recall?
When I began composing that email, we were already chatting, and he was already irritated over something. So I told him, I think it was about the subject of the link on his website. So that was another thing that just made me think he doesn't want to be public even about our friendship. So that's when I said, well, I told him, hold on, I'm writing you an email. So I wrote out the email. He was upset at the prospect of receiving the email because he's wanted to know why I would send him an email about something that I know is going to make him upset. And I explained to him that whether or not it makes you upset, you're my friend and this is something I have to tell you. So I made that email. I didn't think it was very mean or aggressive or hostile, but he took offense to it and it led to another fight.
Now you say this led to another fight. Was this fight a verbal fight, or was this in some other fashion?
It was just an argument that took place over that same chat conversation, which continued.
And is this the one where he calls you a three-hole wonder and a slut?
No, this is a different one.
Okay. Do you recall what he says to you in this conversation?
Not particularly. He was just very upset, mean, and, well, not mean, not as mean as he's been or would be afterward, but he claimed that he didn't get what I was trying to say, and he said, "Are you trying to say I should put a link up?" And I said, "No, that's not what I'm trying to say. Reread it." And he said, "I read it twice, and I still don't get it." I said, "Well, I don't see how more plainly I can explain it to you." So, I mean...
Okay. Did the two of you have a phone conversation after this email was sent?
I clicked out of the window before he could type anything else that was going to be mean, and that made him mad because it was sort of the equivalent of hanging up on him, and we either started texting or talking on the phone, I don't remember which, and it was just a little more of the fight until it tapered off or we stopped communicating for that time being. It's just a little rhyme that I wrote when I was up very late one night, sent it to him, just to be silly.
Him being home?
Travis.
And do you recall from looking at that when you sent that particular item?
I sent it on May 19th, 2008 at 3:15 in the morning.
Okay.
How doth the mind of the Lord see it fitting that I should be bored, that I might compose some poetry and send it speedily off to thee. But I thinkest that, in fact, if I am bored, then I must act, for it is my own restless mind that has responded this way in kind. And for that boredom of which I speak, I am still grateful, for it's not bleak. I am still happy, for there is much I can still do for it and such, like send an email after 3 and read another book, you see. So here's to wishing you a time that's full of happiness and rhyme. May your days be full of stimulation and not just in simulation, but in reality, just the way you'd have it be.
What were you hoping? How were you hoping that that poem would be received?
The same way my previous poems had been received. He expressed gratitude, awe, just something positive usually. He complimented me.